Hey, it's Little Renee, aka Docu Rock, and let's get into some flashback fifis. All right, this is a series of videos I'm sharing with y'all where I was going live on different platforms during my journey of intentionally leaning into my wounds. I was very vulnerable, very raw, very vocal in my visibility during that process. Why? Because I felt it was needed and necessary. Because very few people was keeping it 100 about how difficult this fucking process can be and also how rewarding. So this series is going to be me sharing those videos. So without further ado, let's go ahead and flash it back real quick and let's get into it. Ago talking about the next chapter, which is fuck fuck this cage, sang the bird, and I said, I know that's right. So y'all might have heard of that, or y'all might know where I got that from, or what I'm playing off of. I believe it's Maya Angelou's "I Know Why the Cage Bird Sing." So that's where I got that from. As always, I'm not really sure where this conversation is going to take us, but I felt called to have it this morning. So good morning. I have my cup of coffee, and we gonna get into it. When I first came up with this title, I was thinking about how in my house, I am very much a proponent of having your own space, right? That goes for everybody. Everybody needs their own space in order to have some privacy, to just be able to get away, to have some downtime. And for me, I often say I really don't think people understand just how critical and necessary it is for me to have downtime. Like it's necessary for my mental health, for me to have some form of space to be able to sit with my own thoughts. Otherwise, I get extremely anxious, and that anxiety looks like rage, right? For a long time, I didn't realize I had anxiety. I didn't think that was a thing. For a lot of us growing up, certain mental health issues that wasn't for black folks. That's some white shit, right? We didn't relate or align ourselves with certain things because we basically didn't know any better, right? And that just isn't something we were taught to identify with. So it took me years to realize that I had anxiety, but my anxiety was often funneled through anger, through rage, through frustration. And what I've realized, especially when we first went into COVID and we had to all quarantine together, it was a whole lot of togetherness time, right? And it exacerbated my anxiety when I felt like I didn't really have a space. But it wasn't so bad then because I had my office space. I was still able to go to my office if I just really, really needed to have some space. I could go to my office. I closed my office officially at the end of August. So I really don't have a place to escape to. So this idea that I am imprisoned, this idea that I am lacking freedom has really been hitting me hard lately, and it's been changing my attitude. It's been changing my mood. It's been changing how I relate to the people in my household because I'm feeling like a caged fucking bird. And I say I am because that's my real reality right now. I'm feeling like a caged bird, like I have no space to call my own. There's always someone or something, dog, plant, something that breathes in my space. And I was asking myself, okay, Linda, how can you reframe your relationship with your space right now so that you can raise your vibration, change your attitude because your attitude been kind of stank, and it's been creating this like dark cloud around me where I've been feeling pretty depressed, right? And it's like, okay, let's lean into this. This don't feel good. How can we lean into this? How can we escape the cage, right? And and I had to create some space and some separation in order to not say fuck this whole process because there's a big part of me that's like, yeah, that sounds cute, that sounds good, just change your mindset and all that other stuff, but my right now reality is I have no space. So how do I reconcile reality with my attitude and how I perceive it, right? So I'm like, okay, is it that you have no space ever all day 24/7? It seems that way. And I'm like, okay, so Let's lean into that. Let's ask ourselves, like, okay, well, I do have time in the morning after I drop the kids off. I can have my coffee. I have a few minutes. I could meditate. Often I don't meditate, right? I'll get on social media. I'll scroll. I'll look up my Scorpio YouTube videos. I'll do all of the things, but I'm not taking, and I have not been taking advantage of the time I do have in order to create that space where I can just be with myself. So then I have to be honest with myself. How much of this cage am I creating myself? How much of an architect have I been of my own imprisonment? And I don't want to look at that. I don't want to do that work because this is something else's fault. This is somebody else's fault. I need a bigger house. I need a bigger house right now. I need my own office. I need my own room. I need my own house. Can I just have my own house and they can live next door to me? Because that's how much space I need. So it's like, how have I been an architect in the creation of my own imprisonment? And that's a hard question to ask. It's hard sometimes to take full responsibility of our right now reality. It's like, okay, is it my thought process? Because I can go for a walk, but I ain't did that shit either. I could go to the gym. I ain't did that shit either, right? And those are all things I consider me time. And I've been saying since my kids went back to school, I haven't got my mojo. I don't have my schedule together. My shit is all off. But then it's kind of like, well, Yolinda, what have you been doing to get your shit together? To get yourself back into a groove where you create the space. Like, no one is taking it from you. And I'm experiencing this right now as I talk to y'all because I've been avoiding this. I've been avoiding this conversation with myself. So when I show up here, it is a form of accountability. It's interesting because, you know, I keep it real with y'all. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to lie. And so when I show up here in this space and have this conversation with self, and when things come up in this real time, it's hard to avoid it when you're being recorded live. Now, when these things come up, am I by myself journaling? I can put the book down and be like, fuck that, I'm not dealing with that right now. But it's so interesting to have these conversations around accountability when you're recording yourself for social media live. So I have not been the best steward of my time recently. And so I've been telling myself, Yolinda, before you would drop the kids off and you would go straight to the gym. But lately you've been telling yourself, oh, I'm tired. I don't have the energy for that. I'm going to go home and lay down. I'm going to do this. And I'm thinking to myself, every time I tell myself I'm tired, I can't, I don't really want to, it's like, am I creating more bars to my prison? Am I creating this cage that I'm telling myself I don't want to be in? What am I doing? But yeah, this is just an invitation for us to really look at how are we potentially being an archetype, not an archetype, but architect of our own limitations. And I know I have a habit of doing that with my thoughts, right? And it's like, fuck. And now that I've been conscious, I've been intentionally being more conscious of what I think about, I'm like, damn, Yolinda, you conjure up some shit. You really do be creating some issues. And this is not to minimize or dismiss the real life issues, but it's like I feel that I highlight or I harp on what I don't want or what I don't appreciate. And they tell the whole manifestation, right? People talk about the law of manifestation. Don't focus on the things you don't want. You're right. You need to change your mind. Your mindset. You need to change your vibration. And now that I'm consciously working on that, it's like, damn, I think about a lot of negative shit all day. That's usually the first thing I think about is some woe is me shit. And then I have to, in real time, put forth effort to shift my mindset. It's like, Jesus, this is a lot of work. And I don't think people talk about it. People just be like, oh, change your mindset. Change what you think about. Stop being so negative. But they don't talk about how fucking difficult that can be in real-time reality, right? Like, you really have to slow down, because most of us are on autopilot, right? Most of us are just doing the things. And a lot of us are living in not necessarily survival mode. We're just living in the mode we're living in, which is where we do what we've always done. And in order to recalibrate, in order to curate a new habit, you have to slow down, right? And it's so interesting because the universe has put me in a position where I've been slowed all the way down. I'm gonna have to write that down. Old triggers can often trigger old responses, right? So if back in the day, every time I got frustrated and upset, and when I was triggered, I would go get me some carbs, right? Go get me some donuts. But now I've cultivated a new habit. I'm eating better and everything else. Even if some new triggers come up, I'm still am able to stick with my new habits. But if it's my mama that was the one that always triggered me, and I would go eat when I was little, and now I have a conversation with my mama and she didn't piss me off, right? And my first instinct is to behave as that kid who would go in the kitchen, get some donuts, go in her room and hide and eat these goddamn donuts to make herself feel better. I will find myself doing that as a 42-year-old. My mama just pissed me off. We just had this conversation. I want some fucking donuts. Like, hold on. Right? Yes. And so that requires us to be high level, high conscious beings in order to be like, hold on. Why the fuck I want some donuts? I ain't had donuts in about 5 years. Why all of a sudden do I want donuts? But those of us who've been doing the work, we'll be able to be like, you know what? I just got off the phone with my mama and she pissed me off. And yeah, I see what's happening. I can feel it. Okay. And then we get an opportunity in that moment to console the little girl who's actually responding in our real time reality. It's the little girl who's responding, who's saying, I want donuts. How can we soothe her in the moment where she realizes I no longer need that crutch? Because grown me has new habits. And how do we stay in that awareness? We don't always do it in the moment. Sometimes we see it afterwards. And that's just the reality of being human. We're not going to always be on, and it's okay. It's what do we do once we create some space? We reflect on it. Like I said, when maybe I ate the donuts as the 42-year-old, maybe I was upset because mama triggered me. I went and got the donuts, and then afterwards, when I realized this don't feel good, this gave me a headache, my stomach all fucked up now. Why did I even eat them donuts in the first place, knowing that doesn't agree with me? Let me sit here and reflect. Having the capacity and the willingness in creating a space to reflect on our day, and I'm feeling like a hypocrite because I don't do that as much as I need to practice reflection on a daily basis, but I'm working on it. And then ask ourselves, like, okay, what happened today? Yeah, that wasn't it. No, that wasn't it. Ooh, yeah. I called my mama and we got into it, and right after that, I found myself on autopilot in my kitchen, and we happen to have some bullshit, and I got the donuts, and now I'm okay. So my inner child was triggered. Okay, what part of my inner child was triggered? What was happening? Oh, I didn't feel listened to. I didn't feel like my mom was listening to me. So that triggered the younger version of myself. Whenever she didn't feel listened to, whenever she didn't feel validated, she validated herself with sugar. Oh, that's what's happening. But as an adult, do I need to feel validated by my mother in order to know that I'm worthy? I don't need that anymore. So let me bring my awareness to my right now age versus my little girl responding. Oh, baby girl, I love you. I love you. Mom doesn't always have the tools and the capacity to show you what you feel like you need in the moment, and that's okay. We're going to give grace to mom, and we're going to give grace to ourselves. I love you. You are enough. Stop eating them motherfucking donuts because they make us feel bad at 42. Right? And so we might not always get it in the moment, but being willing to be honest with ourselves. So being honest with ourselves is what those of us who are doing the work do, right? It ain't saying we perfect. It ain't gonna say we ain't gonna fuck up. It's not saying we're not gonna be triggered, but it's us being willing to review and reflect and recalibrate as necessary, right? So that's what I'm working on, and I find myself having to recalibrate often. And so now my goal is to, how can I stretch this muscle? How can I strengthen this muscle, rather, in both, where I don't have to recalibrate so often, where I can do the self-check in the moment, right? That's what I'm working towards. That's where we're reaching towards self-mastery. Like, we're self-aware enough to do the reflection and see where we might have gotten off track a bit. Okay, that's self-awareness. And that's what I teach first, or that's what I try to model or guide people in becoming more self-aware, because we can't fix, change, or heal shit we're not willing to be aware of. Right? And with being aware, that also, that's my 4 pillars of healing: being self-aware, self-loving, and self-accepting of our shadows. That's ground level work. Being self-aware. And people are like, well, why you got to be self-aware first? Like, that don't shouldn't you love yourself first? You would think, but oftentimes we're not even aware of the fact that what we consider love is actually self-delusion. So first we need to be aware and find out, am I loving myself or am I deluding myself? Because once I can discern whether or not I'm deluding myself, ooh, this wine is me loving myself because I get to wind down at the end of the day, so I'm going to have a bottle of wine. Is that love, though? Or could that be something else? So once we can distinguish between our self-deluding behaviors and our self-loving behaviors, then we can make sure that we are focusing on the self-love, right? So we go from self-awareness to self-love to self-acceptance. Ooh, let me accept this part of myself that does get triggered and want to eat donuts. I accept that part of me. And now that I accept that part of me, I can integrate my shadow that I get triggered and I want sugar. Yes, self-awareness, self-love, self-acceptance, and then our shadow work. And I teach that there's 3 different levels of shadows. There's the shadows that are trauma-based, and then there's the shadows that are trait-based. It's just a part of who we are, right? And then those are shadows that were created because of the trauma we've experienced, right? So my shadow that is a trait, I can be manipulative as fuck. I'm aware. I can be self-absorbing as fuck. I'm aware. Those are traits. My chronic independence is trauma-based, right? My lack of trust is trauma-based, right? Me thinking everybody is a suspect is trauma-based. And so being able to discern the two, because some of these shadows we can overcome, we can transcend, and some of them need to be transmuted while others need to be integrated, right? And so all of this is really what I've been thinking about as I think about this perceived cage that I'm in. Would I like a bigger house? Yes, very much so. Am I working towards that? Yes, very much so. But how can I make the best of my right now reality? I say I need more space, I need more me time, but I haven't been putting forth any effort to curate it. Instead, I've just been bitching and complaining. That doesn't seem productive. Just being honest with myself. Me bitching and complaining about the fact that I have no me time versus me actually preparing and planning and implementing ways to have it don't seem productive. Oh, so this is an invitation for everybody who's watching this or see this to be really honest with ourselves about where we find ourselves complaining, where do we find ourselves being irritated and frustrated, and really asking ourselves, what are we doing right now to help shift that? And it's just whatever's in our control. Like some shit we just don't have control over. We can't do shit. I mean, it is what it is. But versus us focusing on what we can't change right now. Like I can't go buy $1 million house tomorrow. I'm not in that position. But yeah, like how are we focusing on the wrong thing, right? And that's what this is about. This is about our thoughts. Like, are we architects of our own prison because we're focusing on what we can't do, we're focusing on what we don't have, we're focusing on what the fuck is wrong, and every time we do that, we're creating a bar. We're putting a bar around ourselves, right? I'm creating this prison, and I'm at the point where I'm like, fuck this prison. I'm so tired of feeling, and I'm tired of using the language, I'm tired. I use it almost every day. I'm tired. Oh my God, I'm tired. Then I wonder why I'm fucking tired every day. Because you have spoken that over your life. I've spoken it over my life on a daily basis for the last at least couple of years. And then I wonder why I never have any energy as I'm having this light bulb moment right now with y'all. Like, what the fuck you expect? Yeah, you're tired. Ain't that what you tell you? But instead of me saying, oh, I'm tired, or oh, this house is too small, everybody always here, everybody in my motherfucking space, blah, 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 blah. I could do that, right? Have choice. Or I could say, okay, Yolanda, you've been dragging ass as far as getting back to the gym. It's been over a month now. You still ain't did it. So what can we do? Let's pack your bag, get your ass up, pack your gym bag, put your clothes right there. So when you get up in the morning, you change your clothes, brush your teeth and shit, and you go with your kids, you drop them off at school, and you keep fucking going to the gym. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Ain't nobody missing you or needing you, right? That's the delusion. That's the stories you tell yourself. No one's preventing you from doing any of that. So what the fuck is your excuse? Other than me operating in this victimhood is easier than me getting my ass up and going to the gym. Or at least that's how I'm operating. But I don't like this no more. I'm like, fuck this cage. I'm tired of this cage. And my higher self is like, I know that's right. We ready or not? You finally ready to dismantle this cage you've created? You ready? Let's get it. So my higher self been waiting on me, just like higher self just been waiting like, okay girl, whenever you tired of being tired, I'm here for us to get our shit together, but I'm gonna let you continue to stir until you ready to be done with this cage you've created. Ain't nobody put your ass in the cage. You put yourself in the cage, created the bars, closed the door, and locked the goddamn thing. Like, that was a lot of work to do all that. Do you know what you could have done if you would have used that energy to create your cage to actually create some freedom? Ooh, Lord. Ooh, that just hit me in the chest, y'all. I'm going to repeat that. What could I have created with the energy I used to create my cage if I would have used that energy to create my freedom, to cultivate my freedom? If I would have used the energy that I used to create this cage, instead would have funneled it to cultivating my freedom, where would I be now? Shit, I probably would have lost about 10 pounds by now if I would have been taking my ass to the gym this last month, right? But woulda, shoulda, coulda, that's not productive. We are not going to stew in what we didn't do. We're going to focus on today and creating habits moving forward that cultivates freedom. So here's Maya Angelou was the inspiration for this chapter. And I'm like, fuck just knowing why. Fuck this cage. I don't want this cage no more. Other side, and bye for now. Peace out, y'all. Bye.
24. And there are going to be more of these flashback to the Fifis. So y'all stay tuned for more of this. All right? So this is Doc You Rock. And I'm out. Peace.